On April 25, 2009, the sun shone brightly over Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, its golden rays reflecting off the Atlantic Ocean, drawing thousands of spring breakers to the bustling coastal city. For 17-year-old Brittanee Drexel from chilly New York, the trip was a chance to escape the pressures of her junior year at Gates Chili High School, a moment of freedom amidst a tumultuous time at home. Brittanee had traveled to Myrtle Beach without her mother Dawn's permission, joining friends for a spring break getaway, her heart set on making memories by the ocean. That evening, she left the Blue Water Resort on Ocean Boulevard, texting her boyfriend John Greco that she was heading back to her hotel, the Bar Harbor, just a short walk away. But Brittanee never arrived, her disappearance marking the beginning of a 13-year mystery that would haunt her family, the Myrtle Beach community, and those who dedicated their lives to finding her. This chapter captures the day of Brittanee's disappearance through the eyes of Emily Carter, her older sister who feels the first stirrings of dread, Detective Laura Bennett, who is thrust into a high-stakes investigation, and Michael Torres, a journalist who senses a story that will change his life, as a vibrant young girl vanishes into the shadows of a tourist haven. Emily Carter, 20, was in her dorm room at the University of Rochester, studying for her sociology finals, when her phone rang just after 9 p.m. on April 25th. A junior majoring in social work, Emily had always been the responsible older sister, a steady presence for Brittanee amidst their parents' recent divorce. Brittanee, with her blonde hair, bright smile, and distinctive eye condition, persistent hyperplastic primary vitreous, which left her blind in her right eye and wearing a prosthetic lens, had been struggling with the family's upheaval, her rebellious streak a cry for attention. Emily had begged her not to go to Myrtle Beach, knowing Dawn had forbidden the trip, but Brittanee had insisted, her voice full of excitement as she promised to be careful. "I'll be fine, Em," she had said during their last call on April 24th, her laughter echoing through the phone, a sound that now haunted Emily as she saw her mother's name on the caller ID. Dawn's voice was frantic, her words tumbling out in a rush. "Brittanee's missing, Emily," she said, her voice breaking as she explained that Brittanee's friends had called, saying she hadn't returned to the Bar Harbor after leaving the Blue Water Resort. She texted John at 8:48 p.m., saying she was on her way back, but she never made it. "It's only a 10-minute walk, Emily. Where could she be?" Emily's heart sank, her mind racing with possibilities. Maybe Brittanee had gotten lost, or her phone had died, or she had met up with someone else. But deep down, a cold fear gripped her, a sense that something was terribly wrong. She promised Dawn she would drive to Myrtle Beach immediately, a 12-hour journey from Rochester, her hands trembling as she packed a bag, her textbooks forgotten on her desk, her only thought to find her little sister. By the time Emily arrived in Myrtle Beach on the morning of April 26th, the city was buzzing with the energy of spring break, its streets crowded with teenagers, the air filled with the sound of laughter and music. Ocean Boulevard, the main strip, was a kaleidoscope of neon lights, souvenir shops, and beachfront hotels, a place where fun and freedom reigned, but also a place where danger could lurk unnoticed. Emily met Dawn at the Myrtle Beach Police Department, her mother's face pale and drawn, her eyes red from crying. Brittanee's friends, a group of teens from Rochester, were there too, their voices shaky as they recounted the night before. Brittanee had been at the Blue Water Resort, visiting a friend named Peter Brozowitz, before deciding to head back to the Bar Harbor around 8:30 p.m. She seemed fine. One of the girls, Jennifer, told Emily, her voice trembling as she clutched her phone, the last photo of Brittanee, a selfie on the beach, her smile radiant, still on the screen. Emily nodded, her throat tight, her mind replaying every conversation with Brittanee, every warning she had given, every moment she wished she could take back. Detective Laura Bennett, 35, was at her desk at the Myrtle Beach Police Department when the call came in just after midnight on April 26th, a report of a missing 17-year-old girl on Ocean Boulevard. Laura, a seasoned officer with a reputation for her meticulous approach, had seen her share of spring break incidents, drunk teens, lost wallets, the occasional fight, But a missing person case, especially a young girl, sent a chill down her spine. Myrtle Beach, with its 60 miles of coastline and millions of annual visitors, was a magnet for tourists, but it also had a darker side, a history of crime that often went unnoticed beneath the city's sunny facade. Laura knew the statistics. A missing teen in a tourist town, especially one who vanished at night, was at high risk of foul play, and the first 24 hours were critical. Laura arrived at the Blue Water Resort by 1 a.m., her badge glinting in the neon lights as she spoke to the hotel staff, requesting access to their surveillance footage. The grainy video showed Brittanee leaving the lobby at 8:30 p.m., her blue tank top and black shorts a stark contrast to the dark night outside, her flip-flops slapping against the pavement as she walked out of frame, heading north on Ocean Boulevard. Laura watched the footage again and again, her heart sinking as she realized there were no cameras to track Brittanee's path beyond the hotel, the busy street a blind spot in the investigation. She interviewed Peter Brozowitz, the friend Brittanee had been visiting, a 20-year-old from Rochester who seemed nervous but cooperative, his story consistent. He had walked Brittanee to the lobby, said goodbye, and returned to his room. She was fine when she left, he told Laura, his voice shaky, his eyes darting to the floor, a detail that made Laura's instincts tingle, though she had no evidence to hold him. By morning, Laura had organized a search party, coordinating with local police, volunteers, and the Horry County Sheriff's Office. Their efforts focused on Ocean Boulevard and the surrounding beaches. She requested Brittanee's cell phone records, hoping to trace her last movements, and learned that her phone had pinged near Georgetown County, about 50 miles south of Myrtle Beach, at 11:58 p.m. on April 25th, before going silent. The ping was a lead, but also a concern. Georgetown was a rural area, its swamps and dense woods a place where someone could easily disappear, a place where a predator might take a victim. Laura's mind raced with possibilities, her years of experience telling her that Brittanee was in danger, her determination to find her growing with each passing hour. Michael Torres, 28, was at his desk at the Myrtle Beach Sun-News when he heard about the missing girl on Ocean Boulevard, his reporter's instincts kicking in as he grabbed his notebook and camera, heading to the scene. Michael, a local journalist with a passion for human interest stories, had grown up in Myrtle Beach, his childhood filled with memories of the boardwalk, the Ferris wheel, the salty air. But he also knew the city's underbelly, the crime that lurked beneath its tourist-friendly surface, the stories that didn't make the travel brochures. A missing teen during spring break was a story that would grip the community, a story that could define his career, but also a story that hit close to home. Michael had a younger sister, Sophia, who was 16, and the thought of her vanishing sent a shiver down his spine. Michael arrived at the Blue Water Resort just after 10 a.m. on April 26th. The street already crowded with police cars, volunteers, and curious onlookers, the air thick with tension. He spoke to a hotel employee, a young woman named Maria who had seen Brittanee the night before, her voice trembling as she described the girl's bright smile, her carefree demeanor. She didn't seem worried, Maria told Michael, her hands twisting a rag as she spoke, her eyes darting to the ocean, as if hoping Brittanee would appear on the horizon. Michael jotted down her words, his mind already crafting the story. A young girl, full of life, vanishing in the blink of an eye, a mystery that would haunt Myrtle Beach for years to come. At the Myrtle Beach Police Department, Michael met Dawn Drexel, Brittanee's mother, her face etched with worry, her hands clutching a photo of Brittanee, her blonde hair glowing in the sunlight, her smile a painful reminder of what was at stake. "She's my baby," Dawn told Michael, her voice breaking as she explained how Brittanee had gone to Myrtle Beach against her wishes, how she had begged her to stay home, how she blamed herself for not stopping her. "I should have known something like this could happen," Dawn said, her tears falling as she held the photo to her chest, her guilt a heavy burden that Michael could feel in his own heart. He promised to tell Brittanee's story with care, his article that evening. Spring Break Nightmare, Teen Vanishes in Myrtle Beach. A call to action for the community, a plea for anyone with information to come forward. As the day wore on, the search for Brittanee intensified, volunteers combing the beaches, the boardwalk, the nearby woods, their voices calling her name, their hope fading with each passing hour. Emily joined the effort, her sneakers sinking into the sand as she walked along the shoreline, her eyes scanning the horizon, her heart pounding with fear. She thought of Brittanee's laughter, her love for soccer, her dream of becoming a cosmetologist, her stubborn streak that had led her to Myrtle Beach, a decision that now felt like a cruel twist of fate. "Please, Britt," Emily whispered, her voice carried away by the wind, her tears mixing with the saltwater spray, a prayer that her sister would be found, that she would come home. Laura, meanwhile, was at the command center, her desk covered with maps, cell phone records, and witness statements, her mind racing as she tried to piece together Brittanee's last moments. The Georgetown ping was a lead, but the area was vast, its swamps and forests a challenge for even the most experienced search teams. She requested assistance from the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED. Knowing the case would require more resources than her department could provide, her determination to find Brittanee a fire that burned brighter with each passing minute. "We'll find her," she told her partner, Detective James Carter, her voice steady but her hands trembling as she marked the ping location on the map, a spot near the Pole Yard boat landing, a place that felt like a needle in a haystack, a place where Brittanee might be waiting, alive or otherwise. Michael spent the day interviewing volunteers, their faces a mix of determination and despair, their stories a tapestry of a community coming together in crisis. He spoke to a local pastor, Reverend Thomas Hayes, who had opened his church as a gathering place for the search, his voice heavy with emotion as he prayed for Brittanee's safe return. "This isn't the Myrtle Beach we know," he told Michael, his hands clasped in prayer, his eyes reflecting the weight of the moment. Michael nodded, his notebook filling with quotes, his heart heavy with the knowledge that this story might not have a happy ending, that Brittanee might be gone forever, a victim of a city that promised fun but delivered tragedy. By the end of April 26th, Brittanee Drexel was still missing, her disappearance a mystery that would stretch across years, a case that would test the limits of hope, justice, and resilience. Emily, Laura, and Michael, each in their own way, were drawn into the search, their lives forever changed by the loss of a girl they loved, a girl they knew, a girl whose story they would tell. Myrtle Beach, with its sunlit beaches and neon nights, had become a place of shadows, its beauty marred by the absence of a vibrant teen, its echoes a reminder of a spring break that had turned into a nightmare that was only just beginning. In the weeks and months following Brittanee Drexel's disappearance on April 25, 2009, the vibrant energy of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, was overshadowed by a growing sense of dread, as the search for the 17-year-old from chilly New York yielded no answers. Brittanee had vanished after leaving the Blue Water Resort on Ocean Boulevard, her last text to her boyfriend John Greco at 8:48 p.m. indicating she was heading back to her hotel, the Bar Harbor, a short walk away. Her cell phone pinged near Georgetown County, 50 miles south, later that night, but then went silent, leaving investigators with a haunting lead and a family clinging to hope. From 2009 to 2011, the investigation stretched across 2 states, involving hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement agencies, and media outlets. But the trail grew colder with each passing day, the mystery of Brittanee's fate deepening the grief of those who loved her. This chapter follows the early stages of the investigation through the eyes of Emily Carter, who channels her anguish into keeping her sister's memory alive, Detective Laura Bennett, who chases leads that slip through her fingers, and Michael Torres, whose reporting uncovers the darker side of Myrtle Beach, as a community grapples with a loss that refuses to resolve. Emily Carter, now 20, had returned to Rochester, New York, after spending 2 weeks in Myrtle Beach searching for Brittanee, her heart heavy with the weight of her sister's absence. A junior at the University of Rochester, Emily had put her studies on hold, her finals forgotten as she focused on finding Brittanee. But the lack of progress forced her to return home, her mother Dawn insisting she try to move forward. "We can't stop living, Emily," Dawn had said, her voice hollow as they sat in their living room on May 10th, 2009, surrounded by photos of Brittanee, her soccer trophies, her prom dress, her bright smile a painful reminder of what they had lost. But Emily couldn't move forward, not when Brittanee was still out there, possibly alive, possibly in danger, her fate unknown. She spent her nights scouring online forums, reading about missing persons cases, her mind clinging to the hope that Brittanee had been taken, that she was being held somewhere, that she could still be saved. Emily's days were filled with efforts to keep Brittanee's name in the public eye, a mission that became her lifeline amidst the grief. She organized a vigil at Ontario Beach Park in Rochester on May 25, 2009, a month after Brittanee's disappearance. The park, a place where the sisters had spent countless summers, their laughter echoing across the lake. The vigil drew hundreds of community members, their hands holding blue candles, Brittanee's favorite color, their voices joining in a prayer for her safe return. Emily stood at the center of the crowd, her hands trembling as she held a photo of Brittanee, her blonde hair glowing in the sunlight, her right eye a distinctive shade due to her prosthetic lens, a detail that made her stand out, a detail that Emily hoped someone, somewhere, would recognize. "We won't stop looking for you, Britt," Emily said, her voice breaking as she addressed the crowd, her tears falling as she planted a memorial tree, its branches soon adorned with blue ribbons, a symbol of hope that refused to fade. Back in Myrtle Beach, Detective Laura Bennett, now 35, was leading the investigation with a determination that bordered on obsession, her days consumed by the search for Brittanee. The Myrtle Beach Police Department had set up a command center, a small room filled with maps, tip logs, and evidence boards, the walls covered with photos of Brittanee, her last known movements marked in red. Laura had followed up on the Georgetown County cell phone ping, organizing searches in the rural area near the Pole Yard boat landing, a swampy expanse of woods and waterways that stretched for miles, its dense undergrowth a challenge for even the most experienced teams. On May 1, 2009, Laura led a search party of 50 volunteers, their boots sinking into the mud as they combed the area, their voices calling Brittanee's name, their hope fading as the day ended with no sign of her. The swamp's alligators and snakes a grim reminder of the dangers that lurked in the wilderness. Laura's investigation also focused on potential suspects, her team interviewing dozens of individuals who had been in Myrtle Beach on April 25. One name stood out: Raymond Moody, a 49-year-old registered sex offender who had been issued a traffic ticket in Surfside Beach, just south of Myrtle Beach, on April 26, 2009, the day after Brittanee vanished. Moody had a history of sexual assault, a 1983 conviction for kidnapping and raping a 9-year-old girl in California, a crime that sent a chill down Laura's spine as she read his file, his mugshot staring back at her, his eyes cold and unfeeling. Laura interviewed Moody on May 5, 2009, at his home in Georgetown, a small trailer surrounded by woods, his demeanor calm but evasive as he claimed to have been working on his car that night, his girlfriend, Angel Cooper Voss, corroborating his alibi. "I don't know anything about that girl," Moody told Laura, his voice steady, his hands folded in his lap, a detail that made Laura's instincts scream, though she had no evidence to hold him, no proof to tie him to Brittanee's disappearance. As 2009 turned into 2010, the investigation showed no signs of progress. The lack of new leads a constant source of frustration for Laura. She worked with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, expanding the search to other areas of Georgetown County, their efforts hampered by the region's vastness, its swamps and rivers a labyrinth that seemed to swallow every clue. In June 2010, a tip led Laura to a hotel room in Georgetown where Moody had stayed in 2009, the manager recalling a man matching his description, but a search of the room turned up nothing. No DNA, no belongings, no sign of Brittanee. "We're chasing a ghost," Laura told her partner, Detective James Carter, one night in July 2010, her voice heavy with exhaustion as they sat in the command center, case files spread across the table, the photo of Brittanee on the wall a constant reminder of their failure, a failure that weighed on Laura's heart, a failure she couldn't accept. Michael Torres, now 29, had become a key voice in keeping Brittanee's case in the public eye, his articles for the Myrtle Beach Sun News a lifeline for the Drexel family, a call to action for the community. Michael's reporting had taken him deep into the underbelly of Myrtle Beach, a city that thrived on tourism but hid a darker side: drug trafficking, prostitution, and a transient population that made it easy for predators to blend in. He interviewed locals who spoke of the city's unspoken dangers, their voices filled with fear as they described the spring break crowds, the chaos that made it easy for someone to disappear. It's a playground for tourists, but it's also a hunting ground, a bartender named Carlos Rivera told Michael in August 2009, his hands wiping down the counter at a bar on Ocean Boulevard, his eyes darting to the door, as if expecting trouble to walk in. Michael's articles also explored the theory of sex trafficking, a possibility that Dawn Drexel clung to, her hope that Brittanee was still alive, a fragile thread that kept her going. In September 2010, Michael wrote a piece titled "The Dark Side of Spring Break," detailing the risks faced by teens in Myrtle Beach, his words a warning to parents, a plea for vigilance. He interviewed Dawn at a vigil in Rochester on the one-year anniversary of Brittanee's disappearance, April 25, 2010, her voice breaking as she held Brittanee's soccer jersey, her tears falling as she spoke to the crowd. "I believe she's out there, being held against her will," Dawn said, her hands trembling as she clutched the jersey, her words a desperate plea for answers, a plea that Michael captured in his article, his heart breaking for a mother who refused to give up, a mother whose pain he could feel in his own chest. By 2011, the investigation had reached a standstill. The lack of new leads a heavy burden for all involved. Emily continued her advocacy, organizing more vigils, her studies suffering as she poured her energy into keeping Brittanee's name alive, her nights filled with nightmares of her sister calling for help, her days filled with the ache of not knowing. She spoke at a community event in Rochester on April 25, 2011, the 2-year anniversary of Brittanee's disappearance, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes, holding up a photo of Brittanee, her smile a beacon of hope. "We won't stop until we find you," Emily said, her words a promise to her sister, a promise to herself, a promise that kept her going, even as the trail grew colder, even as the hope began to fade. Laura, meanwhile, was feeling the strain of the case, her marriage to her husband, David, a high school teacher, suffering under the weight of her long hours, her emotional distance. "You're not here, Laura," David told her one night in June 2011, his voice soft but firm as they sat in their living room, the TV muted in the background, their 2 children, 8-year-old Mia and 5-year-old Ethan, asleep upstairs. "Even when you're home, you're thinking about that case." Laura wanted to argue, to tell him she couldn't stop, not when Brittanee was still out there, but she saw the exhaustion in his eyes and nodded, promising to try harder, though deep down, she knew the case had become a part of her, a mission she couldn't abandon no matter the cost. Michael's reporting continued to shine a light on the case, his articles a reminder of the girl who had vanished, a call for anyone with information to come forward. He received tips from readers, some plausible, others outlandish, but none led to a breakthrough. The mystery of Brittanee's fate a shadow that stretched across the years. In December 2011, he wrote a piece reflecting on the 2-year mark, his words a tribute to the Drexel family's resilience, a reflection on the community's hope, a hope that refused to die, even as the trail went cold, even as the answers remained out of reach. By 2012, 3 years had passed since Brittanee Drexel vanished on April 25, 2009, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, leaving her family and the community in a state of perpetual grief, their hope for answers fading with each passing year. The 17-year-old from Chile, New York, had disappeared during a spring break trip, last seen leaving the Blue Water Resort on Ocean Boulevard, her cell phone pinging 50 miles south in Georgetown County before going silent. Despite extensive searches, the investigation had yielded no solid leads, the trail growing colder as the years stretched on. From 2012 to 2016, new developments brought both hope and frustration. culminating in the FBI's 2016 announcement that the case was a homicide, based on an inmate's claim that Brittanee had been abducted, raped, and murdered, though the suspect named Timothy Deshawn Taylor would later be cleared. This chapter follows the investigation's evolution through the eyes of Emily Carter, whose grief fuels her advocacy, Detective Laura Bennett, whose pursuit of the truth faces new obstacles, and Michael Torres, whose reporting uncovers the complexities of the case, as the shadows of suspicion deepen the mystery of Brittanee's fate. Emily Carter, now 23, had graduated from the University of Rochester in 2011, her sociology degree a stepping stone to a career in social work, a path she chose to honor Brittanee's memory by helping at-risk teens. But the weight of her sister's disappearance remained a constant presence, a void that shaped every aspect of her life. Emily had moved back to chilly New York, living in a small apartment near her mother Dawn, their bond strengthened by shared grief, their days filled with efforts to keep Brittanee's case alive. On April 25, 2012, the 3-year anniversary of Brittanee's disappearance, Emily organized a vigil at Ontario Beach Park, the same place where she had planted a memorial tree in 2009, its branches now heavy with blue ribbons, a symbol of the hope that refused to die. The vigil drew a smaller crowd than in previous years, a painful reminder of how time could erode attention. But Emily's resolve was unwavering, her voice steady as she spoke to the gathered community, holding up a photo of Brittanee, her blonde hair glowing in the sunlight, her smile a beacon of light in the darkness. Emily's nights were filled with dreams of Brittanee, her sister's voice calling for help, her face appearing in the shadows, a haunting reminder of the unknown. She struggled with guilt, wondering if she could have stopped Brittanee from going to Myrtle Beach, if she had been a better sister, if she had paid more attention to the warning signs. "I should have gone with her," Emily confided to her best friend, Sarah Mitchell, one evening in June 2012, her hands trembling as she sipped tea in her apartment, the walls covered with photos of Brittanee, her soccer jersey framed above the couch. Sarah, who had known the Drexel sisters since childhood, squeezed Emily's hand, her voice soft but firm. "You couldn't have known, Em. You're doing everything you can now." Emily nodded, her tears falling, her determination to find answers a fire that burned brighter with each passing day. A fire that kept her going, even as the years stretched on without resolution. Detective Laura Bennett, now 38, had been promoted to the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office in 2012, her work on Brittanee's case earning her respect among her peers, though the lack of progress weighed heavily on her heart. The investigation had become a marathon, with over 1,000 tips processed by early 2012, but none had led to a breakthrough. The Georgetown County cell phone ping a haunting lead that refused to yield answers. Laura had revisited Raymond Moody as a person of interest in 2012, her instincts telling her he was involved, his 1983 conviction for sexual assault a red flag that she couldn't ignore. She interviewed Moody again on May 10, 2012 at his trailer in Georgetown, his demeanor as cold and evasive as it had been in 2009, his girlfriend Angel Cooper Voss once again providing an alibi, her story consistent but rehearsed, a detail that made Laura's skin crawl. "I don't know anything about that girl," Moody repeated, his eyes avoiding Laura's, his hands folded in his lap, a posture that screamed guilt, though Laura had no evidence to hold him, no proof to tie him to Brittanee's disappearance. Laura's team continued to search Georgetown County, focusing on areas near the Pole Yard boat landing, where Brittanee's phone had last pinged on April 25, 2009. In July 2013, they conducted a large-scale search with the help of SLED and the FBI. Their efforts focused on a swampy area known for its alligator population, a grim reminder of the challenges they faced. The search turned up nothing. No clothing, no belongings, no sign of Brittanee. The swamp's murky waters a silent witness to the mystery that refused to be solved. Laura also followed up on other leads, including a tip about a local man named Sean Taylor, who had been seen near Ocean Boulevard on the night Brittanee vanished. But Taylor had an alibi, his DNA not matching the limited samples from Brittanee's phone, a dead end that left Laura frustrated. her determination to find Brittanee a fire that burned brighter with each passing day, a fire that kept her going, even as the trail grew colder. In 2016, a significant development shook the investigation, bringing both hope and controversy. On August 26, 2016, the FBI held a press conference in Myrtle Beach, announcing that Brittanee's case was now considered a homicide, based on the testimony of an inmate named Taquan Brown, who claimed to have witnessed her murder. Brown, serving time for manslaughter, alleged that Brittanee had been abducted by Timothy Deshawn Taylor, a 25-year-old from McClellanville, South Carolina, and taken to a stash house in the area, where she was raped and murdered by Taylor and his father, Sean Taylor, her body disposed of in an alligator pit. The FBI's announcement was a bombshell, their words a devastating blow to the Drexel family, who had clung to the hope that Brittanee was still alive, possibly a victim of trafficking, a hope that had kept them going through the years of uncertainty. Laura watched the press conference from her office in Georgetown, her heart sinking as she listened to the FBI's claims, her instincts telling her the story didn't add up. She had investigated the Taylors in 2011 after an earlier tip, but found no evidence linking them to Brittanee, their alibis solid, their DNA not matching the limited samples from the crime scene. Brown's story, while detailed, was inconsistent, his credibility questionable given his criminal history, his motives unclear as he sought a reduced sentence. Laura met with the FBI agents leading the investigation, her voice firm as she questioned their focus on the Taylors, her years of experience telling her they were chasing a distraction, a lead that would only deepen the family's pain, a lead that would take them further from the truth. Michael Torres, now 35, had continued his coverage of Brittanee's case for the Myrtle Beach Sun-News, his articles a lifeline for the Drexel family, a reminder to the public that a young girl was still missing, her fate unknown. Michael's reporting had earned him a reputation as a compassionate yet tenacious journalist, his work on Brittanee's disappearance a mission that had become personal, a reflection of his own fears for his younger sister, Sophia, now 20 and in college, her safety a constant concern in a world that could be so cruel. In 2014, Michael wrote a series on cold cases in South Carolina, his articles highlighting the challenges faced by law enforcement, the emotional toll on families, the power of community in keeping hope alive, his words a tribute to Brittanee, a call for anyone with information to come forward. The FBI's 2016 announcement sent shockwaves through the community, and Michael was among the first to report on it, his article. FBI declares Drexel case a homicide, going viral as readers across the country shared in the family's grief. Michael interviewed Dawn Drexel after the press conference, her face pale and drawn, her hands clutching a photo of Brittanee, her tears falling as she spoke of the pain of losing hope. "I wanted to believe she was still out there," Dawn told Michael, her voice breaking as she sat in her living room in Chile, the walls covered with photos of Brittanee, her soccer jersey framed above the fireplace. "But if this is true, I need to know who did this to my baby." Michael nodded, his heart breaking for a mother whose pain he could feel in his own chest, his determination to uncover the truth of fire that burned brighter with each passing day, a fire that kept him going, even as the case grew more complex. Michael also investigated the Taylor lead, his reporting taking him to McClellanville, a small town 40 miles north of Myrtle Beach, its quiet streets a stark contrast to the bustling tourist hub where Brittanee had vanished. He interviewed locals who knew the Taylors, their reactions a mix of fear and skepticism, their voices hushed as they spoke of the family's reputation, their involvement in petty crime, but nothing as serious as murder. Michael obtained a copy of Taquan Brown's statement through a source, his stomach churning as he read the graphic details. Brittanee's alleged rape, her murder, her body disposed of in an alligator pit, a story that felt both horrifying and implausible, a story that raised more questions than answers. He met with Timothy Deshawn Taylor in September 2016, the young man's eyes filled with anger as he denied the allegations, his voice steady as he spoke of the toll the accusations had taken on his family. "I didn't know that girl," Taylor told Michael, his hands clenched into fists, his frustration palpable. a frustration that Michael captured in his article, his words a call for caution, a reminder that suspicion was not the same as proof. The FBI's focus on the Taylors caused tension in the community, their aggressive tactics. Publicly naming Timothy as a suspect, offering a $25,000 reward for information, drawing criticism from civil rights groups who accused the agency of targeting a black family without evidence. A narrative that Michael explored in his reporting, his articles questioning the FBI's methods, their reliance on a questionable witness, their failure to pursue other leads like Raymond Moody, who had been on Laura's radar for years. Michael received threats for his coverage, anonymous messages warning him to back off, a reminder of the danger he faced in pursuing the truth, a danger he accepted, knowing that Brittanee's family deserved answers, that her story deserved to be told with care, with integrity, with a commitment to justice. By the end of 2016, the investigation into Brittanee Drexel's disappearance had taken a dramatic turn. The FBI's homicide announcement a devastating blow to the family. The focus on the Taylors a distraction that deepened the mystery, the truth still out of reach. Emily, Laura, and Michael, each in their own way, were consumed by the case, their lives shaped by the loss of a girl they loved, a girl they knew, a girl whose story they would tell. The shadows of suspicion had grown longer, their weight a burden that tested the resilience of a family, a community, a town that refused to give up, a town that held on to hope, even as the years stretched on, even as the answers remained hidden in the darkness. By 2017, 8 years had passed since Brittanee Drexel vanished on April 25, 2009, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Her disappearance a lingering wound for her family and the community, a mystery that refused to be solved. The 17-year-old from Chile, New York, had been last seen leaving the Blue Water Resort on Ocean Boulevard, her cell phone pinging 50 miles south in Georgetown County before going silent, a haunting clue that had led to countless searches but no answers. The FBI's 2016 announcement that the case was a homicide, based on an inmate's claim implicating Timothy Deshaun Taylor, had proven to be a false lead, with Taylor cleared of involvement, leaving investigators back at square one. From 2017 to 2021, the investigation saw renewed efforts, with searches in Georgetown County and a growing focus on Raymond Moody, a registered sex offender who had been on the radar since 2009. A pivotal tip in 2021 would set the stage for a breakthrough, offering a glimmer of hope after years of darkness. This chapter follows the investigation's slow progress through the eyes of Emily Carter, whose personal milestones are overshadowed by grief, Detective Laura Bennett, whose persistence faces new challenges, and Michael Torres, whose reporting keeps the case alive as the shadows of Myrtle Beach begin to yield their secrets. Emily Carter, now 28, had built a life in Chile, New York, despite the ever-present ache of her sister Brittanee's disappearance. A social worker specializing in at-risk teens, Emily had channeled her grief into helping others, her work a tribute to Brittanee, whose rebellious spirit and dreams of becoming a cosmetologist had been cut short. In 2017, Emily married her college sweetheart, Daniel Harper, a quiet and supportive man who understood the weight she carried. Their wedding a bittersweet moment as Emily walked down the aisle without her sister by her side. "I wish you were here, Britt," Emily whispered as she stood at the altar, her bouquet adorned with blue ribbons, a silent tribute to the sister she had lost, a sister whose absence was felt in every moment of joy, every milestone, every quiet evening at home. In 2018, Emily gave birth to a daughter, naming her Brittanee Dawn Harper, a living tribute to her sister, a name that brought tears to Dawn Drexel's eyes when Emily introduced her granddaughter. "She has your sister's smile," Dawn told Emily, her voice trembling as she held the baby, her hands tracing the tiny features, her heart aching for the daughter she had lost, the daughter she still hoped to find. Emily found solace in motherhood, her days filled with the laughter of her daughter, her nights filled with the same nightmares that had haunted her for years. Brittanee calling for help, her voice echoing through the darkness, a reminder of the mystery that refused to be solved. She continued her advocacy, organizing annual vigils at Ontario Beach Park, the memorial tree now a towering presence, its branches heavy with blue ribbons, a symbol of the hope that Emily refused to let die, a hope that kept her going, even as the years stretched on without answers. Emily's advocacy took on a new dimension in 2019 when she founded the Brittanee Drexel Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to raising awareness about missing children and supporting families in their search for answers. The foundation organized events, distributed flyers, and worked with law enforcement to keep Brittanee's case in the public eye. Its mission a reflection of Emily's determination to honor her sister's memory, to ensure that other families didn't face the same years of uncertainty. On April 25, 2019, the 10-year anniversary of Brittanee's disappearance, Emily spoke at a vigil in Rochester, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd, her daughter in her arms, her mother by her side. 10 years is too long to wait for answers, Emily said, her eyes meeting those of the community, her tears falling as she held up a photo of Brittanee, her smile a beacon of light in the darkness, a light that Emily vowed to keep shining, no matter how long it took. Detective Laura Bennett, now 43, had become a fixture in the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office, her work on Brittanee's case a defining part of her career, a mission that had consumed her for over a decade. The FBI's 2016 focus on Timothy Deshawn Taylor had been a distraction, with Taylor cleared of involvement by 2017, his DNA not matching the limited samples from Brittanee's phone, his alibi solid, his family's reputation tarnished by the false accusations. Laura had always doubted the Taylor lead, her instincts pointing her back to Raymond Moody, the registered sex offender who had been on her radar since 2009, his 1983 conviction for sexual assault a red flag that she couldn't ignore. In 2017, Laura organized a new search in Georgetown County, focusing on an area near Foxfire Court, a wooded spot not far from where Brittanee's phone had last pinged. The search prompted by new cell phone data analysis that narrowed the location. The search on June 15, 2017, involved 75 volunteers, including members of SLED and the FBI. Their efforts focused on a dense forest near a swamp, the air thick with humidity, the ground soft with mud, the threat of alligators a constant concern. Laura walked alongside the team, her boots sinking into the earth, her eyes scanning the undergrowth, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and dread. "She's here somewhere," Laura told her partner, Detective James Carter, her voice steady but her hands trembling as she marked the map, her years of experience telling her that this area held the key, that Brittanee's remains might be buried in the swamp, a grim possibility that she couldn't ignore. But the search turned up nothing. No clothing, no belongings, no sign of Brittanee. The swamp's silence a cruel reminder of the challenges they faced, a silence that deepened Laura's frustration, her determination to find Brittanee a fire that burned brighter with each passing day, a fire that kept her going, even as the years stretched on without resolution. Laura's personal life continued to suffer under the strain of the case, her marriage to David now a fragile thing, their conversations reduced to brief exchanges about their children, 12-year-old Mia and 9-year-old Ethan. "You're not the same, Laura," David told her one night in August 2018, his voice soft but firm as they sat in their kitchen, the dishes piled in the sink, the weight of their distance a heavy burden. "This case is eating you alive." Laura wanted to argue, to tell him she couldn't stop, not when Brittanee's family was still waiting, but she saw the exhaustion in his eyes and nodded, promising to try harder, though deep down, she knew the case had become a part of her, a mission she couldn't abandon, no matter the cost. She found solace in her children, their laughter a reminder of the life she was fighting for, a life that Brittanee had been denied, a life that Laura vowed to honor, no matter how long it took. Michael Torres, now 40, had become a senior reporter at the Myrtle Beach Sun-News, his coverage of Brittanee's case earning him a Regional Journalism Award in 2018, a recognition of his dedication to telling the story with empathy and truth. Michael's articles had kept the case in the public eye, his words a lifeline for the Drexel family, a call to action for the community, a reminder that a young girl was still missing, her fate unknown. In 2019, he wrote a series on cold cases in South Carolina, his articles highlighting the challenges faced by law enforcement, the emotional toll on families, the power of community in keeping hope alive. His words a tribute to Brittanee, a call for anyone with information to come forward. He interviewed Emily at the 10-year anniversary vigil in Rochester, her strength a testament to the family's resilience. Her daughter Brittanee dawned a living reminder of the sister she had lost, a reminder that Michael captured in his article, his heart breaking for a family whose pain he could feel in his own chest. Michael's reporting also took him back to Georgetown County, his investigation focusing on the areas where Brittanee's phone had last pinged, his articles exploring the challenges of searching such a vast and treacherous landscape, the swamp's alligators and snakes a grim reminder of the dangers that lurked in the wilderness. He spoke to locals who remembered the searches, their voices filled with sorrow as they described the hope that had faded with each passing year. Their stories a tapestry of a community that refused to forget, a community that held on to the memory of a girl they had never met, a girl whose story deserved to be told. Michael's work earned him threats, anonymous messages warning him to back off, a reminder of the danger he faced in pursuing the truth, a danger he accepted, knowing that Brittanee's family deserved answers, that her story deserved to be told with care, with integrity, with a commitment to justice. In 2021, a pivotal moment in the investigation brought a glimmer of hope, a tip that would set the stage for a breakthrough after years of darkness. On September 15, 2021, Laura received a call from a defense attorney in Georgetown, a man representing a client who had overheard a conversation between Raymond Moody and Angel Cooper Voss at a bar, a conversation that hinted at Moody's involvement in Brittanee's disappearance. The client, a bartender named Jason Reed, claimed to have heard Moody say, "I took care of that girl in the woods," his voice low and menacing, his words a chilling confession that sent a shiver down Laura's spine. Reed had been reluctant to come forward, fearing retaliation, but his attorney convinced him to share the information, a decision that would change the course of the investigation, a decision that would bring Laura closer to the truth than she had ever been. Laura met with Reed on September 20, 2021, at a diner in Georgetown, her notebook in hand, her heart pounding as she listened to his story, his voice trembling as he recounted the conversation, his eyes darting to the door, as if expecting Moody to walk in. "I didn't know what to do," Reed told Laura, his hands wrapped around a coffee mug, his knuckles white with tension. "But I couldn't keep it to myself anymore." Laura nodded, her mind racing with possibilities, her years of experience telling her that this was the lead she had been waiting for, a lead that could finally bring answers to the Drexel family, a lead that could finally bring justice for Brittanee. She requested a new search warrant for Moody's property, her determination to find the truth a fire that burned brighter than ever, a fire that kept her going, even as the years stretched on, even as the shadows of Myrtle Beach began to yield their secrets. In 2022, after 13 years of uncertainty, the Brittanee Drexel case reached a turning point that brought both closure and renewed grief to her family and the Myrtle Beach community. Brittanee, a 17-year-old from Chile, New York, had vanished on April 25, 2009, during a spring break trip, last seen leaving the Blue Water Resort on Ocean Boulevard, her cell phone pinging 50 miles south in Georgetown County before going silent. Despite extensive searches and false leads, including the FBI's 2016 focus on Timothy Deshaun Taylor, the case remained unsolved until a tip in 2021 reignited the investigation, pointing to Raymond Moody, a registered sex offender who had been a person of interest since 2009. In May 2022, Moody confessed to kidnapping, raping, and strangling Brittanee, leading authorities to her remains in a wooded area near Georgetown, a discovery that confirmed the family's worst fears. Moody pleaded guilty in October 2022, receiving a life sentence, a moment of justice that marked the end of a long and painful journey. This chapter captures the breakthrough and its aftermath through the eyes of Emily Carter, who grapples with the reality of her sister's fate, Detective Laura Bennett, whose years of work culminate in a bittersweet victory, and Michael Torres, whose reporting documents a community's closure, as the shadows of Myrtle Beach finally yield their truth. Emily Carter, now 33, was at her home in chilly New York on May 4, 2022, playing with her 4-year-old daughter, Brittanee Dawn, when her phone rang with a call from her mother, Dawn Drexel. Emily had spent the past 13 years advocating for her sister, founding the Brittanee Drexel Foundation to support missing children, her life a testament to the resilience born of grief. The annual vigils at Ontario Beach Park, the blue ribbons on the memorial tree, the countless hours spent raising awareness, all had been driven by the hope that Brittanee might still be alive, a hope that had sustained Emily through the darkest days, a hope that had kept her family together. But Dawn's voice on the phone was heavy with emotion, her words a devastating blow that Emily had both dreaded and expected. "They found her, Emily," Dawn said, her voice trembling as she explained that Raymond Moody had confessed to Brittanee's murder, leading authorities to her remains in Georgetown County, a confession that confirmed the family's worst fears, a confession that shattered the fragile hope they had held onto for so long. Emily felt her knees buckle, her hands gripping the edge of the kitchen counter as she listened to her mother's words, her daughter's laughter fading into the background, her mind racing with a flood of emotions, relief, anger, sorrow, guilt. "Where is she?" Emily asked, her voice barely a whisper, her tears falling as Dawn explained that Brittanee's remains had been found buried 4 feet deep in a wooded area near the Pole Yard boat landing, the same spot where her phone had last pinged on April 25, 2009, a spot that had been searched countless times, a spot that had held the truth all along. The remains were identified through DNA and dental records, confirming that Brittanee had been strangled, her body left in the woods, a brutal end to a life full of promise, a life that Emily had fought to honor, a life that had been taken by a man who had lived among them, hiding in plain sight for 13 years. Emily traveled to South Carolina with Dawn and her brother Chad the following week, their journey a somber one as they prepared to lay Brittanee to rest, a task they had never imagined they would face. On May 15, 2022, they held a funeral in Myrtle Beach, the church filled with blue balloons, Brittanee's favorite color, her soccer jersey displayed beside her urn, her smile captured in photos that lined the walls. Emily spoke at the service, her voice trembling as she shared memories of Brittanee, her love for the beach, her dream of becoming a cosmetologist, her stubborn streak that had led her to Myrtle Beach, a decision that now felt like a cruel twist of fate. "We'll never stop loving you, Britt," Emily said, her eyes meeting those of her family, her tears falling as she placed a blue ribbon on the urn, a symbol of the bond that death could not break, a bond that had carried them through 13 years of uncertainty, a bond that would carry them forward, even in the face of such profound loss. Detective Laura Bennett, now 48, was at the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office when the call came on May 4, 2022, confirming Moody's confession, a moment she had been working toward for over a decade. Laura had been relentless in her pursuit of justice for Brittanee, her focus on Moody intensifying after the 2021 tip from Jason Reed, the bartender who had overheard Moody's chilling words at a bar. The tip had led to Moody's arrest on May 2, 2022, initially on an obstruction of justice charge related to another case, but under interrogation, Moody broke down, confessing to Brittanee's murder, his words a haunting admission of guilt. "I saw her walking on Ocean Boulevard," Moody told Laura, his voice flat, his eyes staring at the floor, his confession a detailed account of the night of April 25, 2009. He had abducted Brittanee, driven her to a campsite in Georgetown, raped her and strangled her, burying her body in the woods, a crime that had haunted him for years, a crime that Laura had known he committed, even when the evidence wasn't there to prove it. Laura led the team to the burial site on May 5, 2022, a wooded area near the Pole Yard boat landing, the same spot where Brittanee's phone had last pinged, a spot that had been searched countless times but had yielded nothing until now. The excavation was a grueling process, the team working through the night, their shovels sinking into the earth, their hearts heavy with the weight of what they might find. At 2 a.m. on May 6th, they uncovered Brittanee's remains, her bones carefully preserved in the soil, her identity confirmed through DNA and dental records. A discovery that brought tears to Laura's eyes, a mix of relief and sorrow as she realized the search was over. The mystery solved, the truth finally revealed. "We found her," Laura told her partner, Detective James Carter, her voice steady but her hands trembling as she stood in the woods, the moonlight casting shadows on the ground. A moment of closure that was both a victory and a tragedy, a moment that Laura would carry with her for the rest of her life. Laura testified at Moody's hearing on October 19, 2022, in Georgetown County, her voice steady as she detailed the investigation. From the initial disappearance to the 2021 tip that led to Moody's arrest, her years of work culminating in a guilty plea that brought justice for Brittanee. Moody pleaded guilty to murder, kidnapping, and criminal sexual conduct, his confession a detailed account of the crime, his lack of remorse a chilling reminder of the evil that had taken Brittanee's life. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without parole, a decision that brought a collective sigh of relief to the courtroom. The Drexel family's long wait for justice finally over. Laura met with the family after the sentencing, her heart heavy as she spoke to Dawn, Emily, and Chad, their gratitude a balm for the years of frustration and doubt. "Thank you, Laura," Dawn said, her tears falling as she hugged the detective, her voice thick with emotion. A moment of closure that Laura would never forget, a moment that validated her years of work, a moment that brought peace, even amidst the sorrow. Michael Torres, now 41, was in his office at the Myrtle Beach Sun-News when he heard the news of Moody's confession, his editor calling him with the update, a moment that marked the end of a story he had been covering for 13 years. Michael had become a senior reporter, his articles on Brittanee's case a testament to his dedication to telling the story with empathy and truth, his work a lifeline for the Drexel family, a call to action for the community, a reminder that a young girl deserved justice, even after so many years. He drove to Georgetown that evening, his camera and notebook in hand, determined to document the resolution with the same care he had given to every article about Brittanee, his heart heavy with the weight of the truth. A truth that was both a relief and a tragedy, a truth that would change the lives of everyone involved. Michael interviewed Emily at the funeral in Myrtle Beach, the two standing near the church, blue balloons floating above them, the air filled with the sound of quiet sobs, the weight of the moment palpable. "I can't believe she's really gone," Emily told Michael, her voice trembling as she clutched a photo of Brittanee, her sister's smile a painful reminder of what had been lost, a smile that Michael had seen in countless photos, a smile that had haunted him for years. He also spoke to local residents, their reactions a mix of relief and anger. Relief that the killer had been caught, anger that he had lived among them for so long, a man who had blended into the fabric of their community, his dark secret hidden behind a facade of normalcy. Michael's article, "A Mother's Nightmare Ends," went viral, his words capturing Dawn's bittersweet closure as she spoke at a press conference after the sentencing, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes, thanking the community for never giving up, a moment of unity that Michael documented with care, his heart breaking for a family that had waited so long for this day. The resolution of Brittanee's case also revealed the complicity of Angel Cooper Voss, Moody's girlfriend, who had provided false alibis for him over the years, her lies delaying justice, a fact that angered Emily as she learned the details of the investigation, her resolve hardening as she vowed to keep fighting for other missing children, to ensure that no family had to wait as long as they did. The sentencing of Moody was a moment of justice, but it was also a reminder of the years of pain, the years of not knowing, the years of hoping against hope, a reminder that Emily carried with her as she returned to Chile, her daughter in her arms, her sister's memory a light that would never fade, a light that would guide her forward, even in the face of such profound loss. By late 2022, the conviction of Raymond Moody for the 2009 murder of Brittanee Drexel brought a long-awaited measure of justice to her family and the Myrtle Beach community. But it also marked the beginning of a new chapter, one of healing, reflection, and renewed purpose. Brittanee, a 17-year-old from Chile, New York, had vanished during a spring break trip. her remains discovered in 2022 after Moody's confession, her death a brutal reminder of the dangers that can lurk in a tourist haven. Moody's life sentence in October 2022 was a victory, but the revelation of Angel Cooper Voss's complicity, her false alibis delaying justice for years, left lingering questions, culminating in her sentencing in 2025. From 2022 to 2025, the Drexel family and those touched by the case found ways to honor Brittanee's memory, their lives shaped by the resilience born of grief. This final chapter reflects on the aftermath through the eyes of Emily Carter, who finds peace in her advocacy, Detective Laura Bennett, who retires but remains connected to the case, and Michael Torres, whose work continues to inspire, as Myrtle Beach emerges from the shadows with a legacy of blue, a symbol of Brittanee's enduring light. Emily Carter, now 36, had spent the months following Moody's sentencing trying to reclaim a sense of normalcy, though the loss of her sister Brittanee remained a constant presence, a wound that had healed but left a scar. The Brittanee Drexel Foundation, which Emily had founded in 2019, became her lifeline, its mission to raise awareness about missing children and support families in their search for answers, a way to honor Brittanee's memory, to ensure that her death was not in vain. By 2023, the foundation had grown, organizing national events, partnering with law enforcement, and providing resources for families, its impact a testament to Emily's determination, her grief transformed into a force for good, a force that kept Brittanee's spirit alive in every blue ribbon, every candle lit in her name, every child brought home because of the foundation's work. In 2024, Emily organized a memorial event in Myrtle Beach, a place that had once been a source of pain but was now a place of remembrance, a place where Brittanee's legacy could shine. On April 25, 2024, the 15-year anniversary of Brittanee's disappearance, the city dedicated a memorial bench on Ocean Boulevard, near the spot where she had last been seen, its plaque engraved with her name, a blue flower garden planted around it, a symbol of the vibrant girl who had loved the beach, who had dreamed of a future that was stolen from her. Emily stood at the dedication ceremony, her 6-year-old daughter, Brittanee Dawn, by her side, her mother Dawn and brother Chad beside her, their hands clasped as they unveiled the bench, their tears falling as they remembered the sister, the daughter, the girl who had brought them together in grief and in love. "This is for you, Britt," Emily said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes, her hand resting on the plaque, her heart swelling with pride as she watched the community gather, their blue ribbons a testament to the unity that had carried them through the darkest days, a unity that would carry them forward, even in the face of such profound loss. The sentencing of Angel Cooper Voss in February 2025 brought a final piece of justice to the case, a moment that Emily had been waiting for since learning of Voss's complicity in 2022. Voss, Moody's girlfriend, had provided false alibis for him over the years, her lies delaying the investigation, her actions a betrayal that had deepened the family's pain, a betrayal that Emily couldn't forgive. On February 10, 2025, Voss was sentenced to 18 years in prison for obstruction of justice. Her plea deal a compromise that spared her a longer sentence, but ensured she would face consequences for her role in the cover-up. Emily attended the sentencing in Georgetown, her heart heavy as she spoke to the court, her voice trembling as she addressed Voss directly. "You knew what he did, and you let us suffer for 13 years, Emily said, her eyes locked on Voss, who stared at the floor, her face impassive, her silence a stark contrast to the pain in Emily's words, a pain that had defined her life, a pain that she was finally beginning to release, a pain that would never fully disappear but could now be met with peace. Detective Laura Bennett, now 51, had retired from the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office in 2023, her career defined by the Brittanee Drexel case, a mission that had consumed her for 14 years, a mission that had brought justice but also taken a toll on her personal life. The conviction of Moody in 2022 was a victory, a promise kept to the Drexel family, but it came at the cost of her marriage to David, which had ended in 2020, their relationship unable to withstand the strain of her long hours, her emotional distance, her obsession with the case. In retirement, Laura moved to a small town in North Carolina, a quiet place where she could find peace, her days filled with gardening, her evenings spent reading, her heart lighter than it had been in years, though the faces of Brittanee and her family remained a constant presence, a reminder of why she had never given up, a reminder of the lives she had touched, the justice she had helped deliver. Laura remained connected to the case, attending the 2024 memorial event in Myrtle Beach, her presence a quiet tribute to the family she had come to know so well, her heart swelling with pride as she saw the bench, the blue flowers, the community that had gathered to honor Brittanee, a community that had refused to forget, a community that had found strength in unity, in love, in remembrance. She met with Emily and Dawn, their gratitude a balm for the years of frustration, the years of not knowing, the years of chasing shadows. "You gave us closure, Laura," Emily told her, her voice thick with emotion as she hugged the detective, her tears soaking Laura's shirt, a moment of gratitude that Laura would carry with her for the rest of her life, a moment that validated her years of work, a moment that brought peace, even amidst the sorrow. Laura also visited Brittanee's grave each year, leaving a blue ribbon on the headstone, a silent promise to never forget, a promise that she had kept, a promise that had defined her career, her life, her heart. Michael Torres, now 44, had continued his work as a journalist, his coverage of the Brittanee Drexel case earning him a Pulitzer Prize nomination in 2023, a recognition of his dedication to telling the story with empathy and truth, his articles a lifeline for the Drexel family, a call to action for the community, a reminder that justice could be achieved, even after so many years. In 2024, Michael published a book, The Shadows of Myrtle Beach, a detailed account of the case, the investigation, and the community's journey, with proceeds going to the Brittanee Drexel Foundation, a contribution that honored Brittanee's memory, a contribution that inspired others to seek justice, to tell stories that matter, to never give up. The book became a bestseller, its pages a tribute to Brittanee, a testament to the power of journalism to honor the lost, to give voice to the voiceless, to shine a light in the darkness, a light that Michael had carried for 16 years, a light that would never fade. Michael attended the 2025 sentencing of Angel Cooper Voss, his notebook in hand, his heart heavy as he watched the final piece of justice unfold, his article. A Final Reckoning, Voss sentenced in Drexel case. A reflection on the case's impact, a tribute to the family's resilience, a call for continued vigilance in the face of such tragedies. He also spoke with Emily at the sentencing, their friendship forged through years of shared purpose, their conversation a reflection on the healing that had begun, the legacy that Brittanee had left behind. "You made sure she was never forgotten, Michael," Emily told him, her hand resting on the memorial bench in Myrtle Beach, the blue flowers blooming around it, a place of reflection, a place of peace, a place where Brittanee's spirit could rest, a place where her light could shine, a light that had guided them through the darkness, a light that would guide them forward, even in the face of such profound loss. The aftermath of the Brittanee Drexel case left a lasting impact on Myrtle Beach, its people forever changed by the loss of a vibrant girl, but also by the resilience they had discovered in themselves. The case led to changes in how missing persons cases were handled in South Carolina, with increased funding for search teams, better coordination between agencies, and new safety measures for tourists, ensuring that other families might not face the same years of uncertainty, the same years of not knowing, the same years of hoping against hope. The memorial bench, the blue flowers, the annual vigils on Ocean Boulevard, all were symbols of a community that chose to honor its lost girl, to find strength in unity, to heal through love, a community that refused to let Brittanee be forgotten, a community that had faced its darkest days and emerged stronger, a community that had found light in the shadows, a light that would never fade.